Chapter 20. So Andrew was about 10 years old in 1968 when his father took him and his brother to Sebago Lake in Maine for overnight camping. And they went over there and they planned to do some fishing and just swim on the lake and just spend the night sleeping in a tent. And this was the first time Andrew and his brother were allowed to sleep on their own. But their dad was nearby on the campsite. So they, before going to bed, they cooked up whatever they fished and they roasted some marshmallows and they just told ghost stories. So the three of them went to sleep onto their tents, and hours later Andrew woke up and he was sleepy, but he needed to go urine. So he stepped outside the tent and he just found like some nearby bushes where he could do his business. But then he says he heard something by the water's edge. So he dug behind a bush and he saw some shadowy figures speaking a language that he did not understand. And he saw the figures and then he noticed that they had big black eyes and they were naked. So the boy got scared and he stood up to run away. But as he did, the beings approached him and stared at him. And Andrew felt that they were reading his mind and body. And he just was scared, thinking that he was gonna be kidnapped by these weird entities. But the beings got closer to him and he was thinking that they were naked, but they were wearing like skin-tight uniforms. There were like 3 figures in total. 2 of them were short and the third one was much larger. And Andrew felt that the taller one was the one that was in charge. So he was scared, but he wanted to know what they were doing by the campsite. So the taller of the 3 beings approached Andrew and spoke to him telepathically. And the tall being told him that he wanted to learn more about him. And then Andrew looked at the 2 other figures and he described that they were having terrifying faces, and he got a bad feeling that he sensed that they wanted to do harm to him in some way. And he did not believe the taller beings communication, saying that they just wanted to learn more about him. Andrew wanted to run away from them, but he felt that he could not move. And one of the shorter figures continued to stare at him, and it made him feel very uncomfortable. Like he felt that he wanted to do awful things to him. He said that his face was wrinkled with a brownish pink naked skin, and he had long arms that they look weak with long fingers. One of the short beings spoke audibly that he could hear with his ears, and the sound was high-pitched, and Andrew described it as squiggle, and he could not understand the language, but felt it had a negative intent. The taller being tried to reassure Andrew, but he was just distrustful of the situation, and he asked the taller being what they could possibly want with a young boy, because at that time, in 1968, there was a Vietnam War, and maybe Andrew felt that the beings could be talking to the grown-ups about the war. And the Vietnam War caused Andrew a lot of stress as a child. And many years later, Andrew questioned whether this happened. And maybe he thought that he suffered PTSD and he was imagining this because of the Vietnam War. Like he wasn't sure if this actually happened. Maybe he thought it was a bad dream. But if it was a bad dream, why does he have it burned in his brain? The taller being spoke to him again, and Andrew remembered that his brother was alone in the tent. And he suddenly became very scared for his brother's safety. After that realization, he managed to break free from the hypnotic state that was preventing him from being able to move. And then he ran back to the tent. He huddled by his brother's side, and he could hear the beings approach. He hid under the covers, and he kept saying, "If I can't see you, you can't see me." And after he said that in his mind, he felt that their presence faded, that he could no longer hear them outside the tent. So morning arrived quicker than expected, and Andrew was thinking that maybe like time sped forward, or something like worse, that maybe like missing time had occurred. Like he wondered if he was taken. He also wondered that he had a sense that his brother was taken. And even though he didn't have a memory of it, he was thinking that it was likely that happened. So years after that, or throughout the years, he remembered more visitations from these strange beings. He did not remember actual abduction encounters, just telepathic communications between the beings. And he was afraid that maybe any memory about abductions has been blocked off. Many years later, Andrew's daughter was born, and the beings visited him once again. Like his memories are spotty, but he does remember a conversation that involved his daughter. He got really angry and he refused to let her be involved with them. Like he took a stand during the conversation and he has not been visited ever since. He admits that maybe his encounters could be a byproduct of post-traumatic stress disorder, and he just had an unsettled feeling about the encounters. They felt real to him. And even though he only remembered conversations, he thought that maybe like more things than that happened. More things than that happened than he remembered. But he is thankful that the visitations have ceased. Post-abduction syndrome is something that some researchers believe many people experience after they have had one or more alien abduction events during childhood. The author believes that Andrew could be suffering from PAS. This syndrome was studied by David Jacobs, Bob Hawkins, and Dr. Ron Western.